Hi guys and welcome to another Hero of the Week. This week's hero is Alastair Campbell. He knocked the stuffing out of a so-called journalist who writes for the Telegraph. And whether you like Tony Blair's former spokesman or not, you have to cheer on what he said in this clip. Now we start out with Tim Stanley, who writes for rags such as the Telegraph and the Spectator. Make a joke and attempt to finish with a joke. Campbell calls out his crap and the serious problem of media being in bed with politicians. Have a listen.
Things can only get better. I think
It's all a joke to these guys. It's all a joke to these guys.
Oh, here we go.
Things can only get better.
Here we go.
They are part of the problem. The British media are part of the problem. They delivered him. They sucked up to him. Johnson has described the Telegraph as his real boss, and they are part of the problem. The next thing that should happen, our political culture and our media culture have to change, otherwise it will happen again.
100% in agreement. I couldn't agree more. And I've been saying this for years. The problem is not just the politicians, the problem is also the media, particularly the right-wing media. What they do is they find scapegoats for the government. And they've been doing it for decades. Back in the 1990s, it was single mothers. You know, the government is having problems. The Tory government, obviously. The Tory government is having problems. The reason for this is because of single mothers living off the state. Recently it was immigrants. Immigrants are the problem. Too many immigrants arriving and they're living off the state. Not that the Tories have imposed austerity. No, it's because of the immigrants. And then after Brexit, of course, the reason Brexit isn't succeeding is because of the EU, because of Ramoners who have been trying to block Brexit or who don't believe in Brexit enough. So when the government have a problem, the right-wing media is ready and willing to find a scapegoat for them. Now, it also works in other ways. The government want to roll out some new policy. They ask their friends in the media to run a story about this to find out what sort of feedback they can get. And if the feedback is positive, then they run with that policy. If it's not, then they suggest it's just an unnamed source within the government who leaked this to the media. It's manipulation. The public have been convinced for years to vote against their own interests, to be angry with people who have no power, to be more angry with, for example, people coming across in dinghies who have literally no money in their pockets, than to be angry with the media barons who have been lying to people for decades. So well said, Alastair Campbell. He's completely correct here.
You lied this country into a war that cost thousands of lives.
Well,
Boris Johnson ate some cake.
Okay. So his response is, you lied people into a war that cost thousands of lives. Tony Blair's government was supported by the media. How many newspapers came out and said the government should not be going to war? Like, whether you agree with Alastair Campbell and Tony Blair is irrelevant here. The problem is there is a toxic relationship, or a very bad relationship for the country, between the government and media. Now, Alastair Campbell is no longer a member of government. He's no longer an MP. I don't know whether he agrees with what happened back in the 2000s, but the point that this journalist is trying to raise here is a bit irrelevant, or it's actually reinforcing Alastair Campbell's point. Yes, we wouldn't have been able to go to war if we didn't have the media on our side. We needed to convince the public that it was necessary to go to war with Saddam Hussein. And the media went along with us. The media didn't question it. And even after it had started and it turned out that there weren't weapons of mass destruction, the media went along with it anyway. So the journalist can't be saying, well, what about you? He's ignoring his role, or his sector's role in this problem. And then he finishes with cake. And this is frankly insulting to the British people. The problem was not Boris Johnson eating cake. The problem was Boris Johnson made rules and Boris Johnson broke rules. He broke the law. He should have resigned a long time ago. He should have resigned, during the pandemic because he was an absolute disaster. He should have stepped aside and let somebody competent run operations, but he didn't. He even joked about letting the bodies pile high, and he didn't resign after that. He was responsible for tens of thousands of deaths because he decided to take it on the chin, or just to ignore parts of the advice that he was given by SAGE, not to go into lockdowns at the right time. And the right-wing media egged him on. So Alastair Campbell is once again correct here. There's a terrible situation where you have the right-wing media and the government working hand in glove. And one is allowing the other to get away with very serious problems. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.